What is the transition really like when moving from California to Raleigh, North Carolina? Let's take a look at the most jarring differences, surprising similarities between living in California and living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Allison Warnerowski with the W Real Estate Group, and we have helped numerous families find the perfect place in the greater Raleigh area for them to call their new home. But along the way, we have gotten to experience firsthand their reactions to how Raleigh compares to many of the larger cities in California. Let's take a closer look. One of the most obvious differences between Raleigh and many major cities in California is how much cheaper it is to live in Raleigh. If you look at the overall cost of living index for Los Angeles, its overall cost of living puts it at 76% higher than the national average, with its housing costs coming in at over 200% higher. Raleigh, in comparison, has an overall cost of living of just 2% more than the national average, with housing costs being 18% above the national average. So while home prices have risen in Raleigh, they still pale in comparison to California. So many people from California's jaws will drop when they see what they can get for their money in Raleigh. And if you have equity in a home from California, you may be able to eliminate a mortgage altogether by paying cash here. Besides housing costs, general things like utility bills, gas prices, restaurants, and general entertainment are much cheaper in Raleigh. Gas prices in July of 2023 are in the low $3 in Raleigh, while they are hovering around the upper $4 to nearly $5 in Los Angeles. And you'll see your food and drink bills noticeably cheaper in Raleigh as well, as Raleigh averages $12 to $20 per meal at mid-tier restaurants, and cocktails are usually around $8 to $12. Now, while California does cost more, salaries are higher as well. They don't fully make up for the difference with Raleigh's lower cost of living, but the average household incomes are typically in the $90 to $125K range in California's major cities, while Raleigh is in the $60,000s. But you will see average salaries increase quite a bit in many of Raleigh's suburbs. One similarity you will see, though, is both areas are known for their technology-centered job market, as California has Silicon Valley, and Raleigh is right next to Research Triangle Park, which is the largest research park in the world. So if you work in the technology or health-related fields in California, you will still have your pick of opportunities in Raleigh. The next topic is all about density, and this is a pretty striking difference between California and Raleigh. California's major cities are very densely populated and developed. There are tons of apartments, condos, and tightly packed neighborhoods, leading to a population density of nearly 8,500 people per square mile in Los Angeles, and a staggering 18,000 people per square mile in San Francisco. Raleigh, on the other hand, is known to be spread out. And while it has been increasing the number of apartments and condos near downtown, its population density of nearly 3,250 people per square mile shows that it's nowhere near what is seen in California. To do this though, Raleigh is definitely not walkable, so you will need to plan to buy a car. You'll find that entertainment in Raleigh is spread to each corner of its city and its suburbs, unlike many larger cities where much of the entertainment is focused in downtown. And traffic, that is a major difference. As while Raleigh residents complain the traffic is getting worse by the day, it pales in comparison to many of California's larger cities. There are some pinch points around Raleigh that can cause some backups, so you do have to think about your commuting route when moving to Raleigh. But overall, those moving from California will find it refreshing to drive in Raleigh's traffic. You may not find it refreshing to navigate your way around though, as outside of a small grid in downtown Raleigh, most of Raleigh's roadways curve and wind quite a bit, making it confusing to navigate without GPS. Moving on, let's talk about the overall feel of California in comparison to Raleigh. First off, Raleigh doesn't have palm trees and it's not located directly on the beach and the mountains like many cities around California. But Raleigh is just a 2 to 3 hour drive from each, so you're not totally leaving your comforts there. California certainly has the bigger city feel overall, with a much larger downtown, and while there are trees around, Californians are used to a more urban feel overall, with suburban areas a little bit further out. Raleigh is an up-and-coming city with a growing downtown, so you'll see a lot of construction going on, but it doesn't have a big city vibe overall. While there is still plenty to keep you entertained, it is really a growing city with a smaller town vibe and a generally suburban feel throughout. One major difference I've heard is that California's larger cities don't have distinct residential neighborhoods like Raleigh does. California's major cities are filled with rows and rows of streets with housing mixed in throughout, while the vast majority of Raleigh's housing is located in neighborhoods. Because of this, Raleigh does offer an excellent sense of community in many neighborhoods, especially for families. And Raleigh has trees everywhere. That's one of the most noticeable differences when you first tour Raleigh. There are plenty of pine and oak trees lining the streets of downtown and many of Raleigh's roadways. Raleigh isn't called the City of Oaks for no reason. And the weather is definitely an area of contrast, as Californians, especially in Los Angeles and San Diego, are used to steady year-round weather in the 70s and 80s with bright sunny days. While Raleigh has a mixture of all 4 seasons throughout the year. And be ready for Raleigh's humidity in July and August, as it can produce some very hot days. Lastly, let's talk about how Raleigh and California compare when it comes to a general lifestyle. California has a mixture of cultures, but overall, I've had many describe it as a faster-paced, larger city feel overall, with a great sense of diversity. California is also a regular blue state from a political standpoint. The culture of Raleigh could be characterized as being fairly laid back and definitely family-oriented. Surprisingly to some, Raleigh does have a great appreciation for diversity and has been increasingly expanding this mindset for years, especially with the influx of many from California and the northeastern states. Raleigh does have a left-leaning mayor, and North Carolina overall has a Democratic governor. And while North Carolina has historically been a red state and has flipped back and forth the last few presidential elections, and Raleigh is generally consistent with that trend. So there is a healthy mix of people with different perspectives throughout. Overall, those from California will likely see more of a mixture of different viewpoints than you're used to. But you will see that diversity is appreciated and respected in Raleigh. Californians will also notice the southern hospitality of Raleigh, as people are generally very welcoming and friendly in Raleigh, and the South in general. Entertainment-wise, California definitely has its fair share of things to do with so many large cities, sports venues, concert offerings, and of course, Hollywood. Raleigh does have its fair share of entertainment options, but it will not provide the same atmosphere as many large cities in California, as it will not have an endless supply of bars and clubs, even though the nightlife scene has been growing quite a bit lately. But what Raleigh does have is the nation's best craft beer scene, with breweries seemingly around every corner, and it does have some really great food options. But despite the better-than-expected food scene, Raleigh will not compare to the sheer number and variety of authentic-style restaurants that California has. There are also multiple concert and show venues, where many of the larger acts stop in during their tours. And sports-wise, the Raleigh area is known for its college sports, having NC State, UNC Chapel Hill, and Duke all within 45 minutes of each other. So the college sports atmosphere is great. And we are passionate about our Carolina Hurricanes professional hockey team, located in the city. Another major difference between California and Raleigh is the lack of tourism, as Raleigh is not really a tourist destination. And for that matter, you definitely do not see any paparazzi around here either. For parks, Raleigh is known for its amazing outdoor spaces. While you may not have a beach or large mountaintops nearby, there are parks around every corner. To compare, Los Angeles has roughly 3.3 acres of parks per 1,000 people, while San Francisco is around 5.5 acres. Raleigh has roughly 13 acres of parks per 1,000 people, with over 6,100 acres and 224 parks and growing. So there are parks, greenways, and open space all around Raleigh, and they are generally not very crowded either. Raleigh also has several large freshwater lakes within a 30-minute or so drive, where you can enjoy boating, fishing, and more. I hope this video gave Californians considering a move to Raleigh, North Carolina, some perspective on what it's like here. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content. And if you need any real estate assistance, our team would love to help you, as we have done countless times for others from California. I'm Allison Orowski, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.